Hey there, and welcome back to my craft room. This is video 2 of our my Textured Chic product class for August 2022. We're going to do this really pretty pink and gold card this time. This is card number 2. Basically, you're using the beautiful distressed gold that I've die cut for you out of the die set. I'm going to do 3 little flowers here, and we're going to be using petal pink ink for those. And you've got another piece of that shimmer ribbon as well, just to set it all off. You will also use 3 of the gold festive pearls, which I've got those there as well. Okay, so we might start with the die cutting or the stamping and die cutting. I'm actually going to fussy cut these just to show you how nice and simple the shapes are. So you really don't need the dies as such, although they're very handy for some of the more intricate ones, including that little background lattice. Okay, so with our petal pink ink, we're going to just stamp off once. This is the background one, so you can see that it's a background stamp. Stamp off once onto a scrap and then onto our basic white scrap. So this one should be in your kit. Don't get mixed up. Then again, stamp off. We want 3 of these. So 1, 2. Now that's very pale. Trust me, it'll be okay. And then a 3rd one. Here we are. Okay. Actually, I might do that one again because that's brought some of the black from when I did the other one. I might turn that over and do another one on the back since I haven't left myself much space. Anyway, okay, so this is our highlight one. We're going to do this first generation ink, so no stamping off. You have to line up the 2 images so that they overlap. If you bring it, excuse me, I'm going to bring it a wee bit closer so I can see through and line them up okay. There we are. So you've got the light petal pink in the background and the darker petal pink as the highlights. And again, we'll do that one. And then, as I say, I'm going to redo that one, but I might turn it over and do it down here away from the other 2. And then I'll fill that in. So you need 3 of these altogether. There we are. That's better. So now I'm just going to either die cut them or fussy cut them. I'm going to fussy cut them just to show you. There's not much to them. They're just some nice, lovely round shapes. Just take it as close or as distant as you like. We're just going to be popping these onto the front of our card. Nothing too fussy in the fussiness. As I say, you could probably get a pretty good use of this stamp set without the dies, except for maybe the more intricate patterns that are there. But the little leaf and this flower are quite straightforward. Oh, he's just come back from his haircut. And that one, and our last one. As I say, hardly any time at all to just fussy cut out those 3 little flowers. There. Excellent. Cool, all done. So that's our 3 little flowers. We might just pop those aside and we'll bring in the rest of the kit. So you've got a white card base. Here we are, a white card base. It's going to be a portrait card, so we want it that way. We've got a piece of petal pink cardstock, which is slightly smaller than our card base. And again, another piece of the beautiful designer series paper, which is sort of that sort of size. It should be roughly, now this is a bit of an alert here. I substituted for some of you, I substituted a different pink cardstock from the pack in your kits. So it will be different. You will have a piece of the dots. Okay, so this is a bit of a disclaimer. Many of you will have more designer series paper than you actually need. You'll have a piece of the dots, which is a little bit smaller, and you have a piece of the other one, which I think is this one. If I just grab without making too many crashes, it should be this one here. That's bigger. So it's up to you if you use the smaller piece of the dots, just as I've shown you here, or you use the larger piece of the alternate, which you can see in my design is slightly is the bigger piece. So the technique's going to be the same, the layering is going to be the same, but you choose whether you want to use the dots or the alternate piece. I'm going to use the dots here because it's slightly smaller. Explanation: I ran out of dots, so I tried to make the layers smaller, and then I realized that the other paper in the pack was just as pretty, even nicer. So I went and recut, and I had plenty of that, so I went and recut it so that you guys have a choice. You go for smaller dots or larger in the alternate paper. And anyway, I've got the smaller dots here, but as I say, it's going to be exactly the same. So grab your pink piece, your petal pink piece of cardstock, and just glue it to your card base. And you're giving it just a wee angle. So just an angle, just like that. Okay. Then grab your designer series paper, whichever one you decide to use, and just angle it back the other way. So this one's angling to the left. Angle your designer series paper to the right. And we'll glue that as well. As I say, you can use the smaller piece of dotty paper or the larger piece of the alternate, depending on what you prefer. Some of you will just have large pieces of dots, and you were lucky enough to have your kits cut before I ran out of the dotty paper, or thought I was going to run out of the dotty paper. So there we are. So that's there. You've got a card base with an angle of the cardstock or angling one way, and the designer series paper angling the other. Okay, actually looks quite nice with a smaller piece of cardstock. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our distressed gold grid, or our little backing piece. You may have to, if you want to, take the time, just give it a bit of weeding just to get out the loose bits. Somebody's just come up the hallway. I'm just going to get out just as many as I can easily. I don't really mind the little hangy bits left in. I think it's quite nice. But if there's any that are going to fall out easily, I'll get them out now. There we are. So there we are. So this one's also just going to be glued straight to the paper, to the designer series paper layer. And you might want to use glue dots on some of the larger pieces, but I'm just going to give it with my multi-purpose glue just a very light, just squeezing exceptionally lightly and just brushing it over the back. Just very lightly. If you have the really, if you have the lovely thin, what do they call it, fine point glue, glue dispenser, you could use that as well. So we're going to pop this onto our card base, slightly higher than centre. So you can see there, I've probably got 1.5 inches at the bottom and 1 inch at the top. So it is slightly higher than halfway because we're going to be popping our little flowers down the bottom here, but sort of equal distance left and right. So in the center, left and right. Okay, so we're going to grab now our cute little flowers. So 2 of them, I'm going to pop, just glue straight onto the card base at either side of the bottom of that little grid. And then the third one, I'm going to pop on a dimensional in the center. Okay, so we'll glue these ones first. Okay. And bringing in our dimensionals. So I'm going to use my ends, always use my ends. Pop the center one up a wee bit. And in positioning this one, it is actually a wee bit lower than the 2 at the side. So not a lot, but just dipping down slightly from the other 2. So you can see there. Okay. Now, our sentiment box. You should have, as I say, a sentiment box in there. This is also from the Stylish Shapes. It's a little stitched banner. Pop that away for a sec. And a piece, you've also got a piece of that shimmer ribbon, which I absolutely adore. So what we might do is stamp our sentiment first. I'm going to use just to merge in or sort of fit in with the whole design, I'm going to use my Petal Pink ink again. I'm going to grab the You Are Amazing Beyond Measure. Put that on my block, Petal Pink ink. You can darken that if you feel like you want to use maybe a Flirty Flamingo or even a black. Black might be a bit stark, I think, but I just love the continuing of that lovely soft pink vibe. Okay, so we're going to grab our shimmer ribbon, measuring it sort of along the length of our sentiment box there. We're going to just cut it off at an angle so it just sort of overlaps the edge of that sentiment box. So at this end, I'll just cut the angle. My scissors will cut. There we are. So just a wee angle there. Line it up with our sentiment box so we can judge where to cut the other end. Pretty much there. So try and match the angles at both ends. I'm not doing a very good job of that. These aren't the best. My scissors need sharpening. There we are. So we've got that cut like a, I don't know, just like a little parallelogram, I suppose. Now we're going to attach this ribbon onto the back of our sentiment box directly, just so that it overlaps at either end and it shows along the bottom. So about half of the ribbon shows along the bottom of the sentiment box. So I find the easiest way to do that is to grab some double-sided tape or some snail. We are going to pop the sentiment box up on dimensionals eventually, but just to attach our ribbon, along the bottom of it, just grab a piece of double-sided tape, pop that on there, or snail. Glue if you fancy hanging onto it for a wee while till it sets, and then just lay it across the ribbon like that. You may need to pull it away to straighten it. So just lay it along the seams so that it's straight-ish. Not doing a very good job of that, am I? Here we are, that's better. Okay, so that's our little sentiment box there, laid along the ribbon just on the back. So I'll grab some dimensionals. Again, I'll use my ends. There we are. I'll pop the backs off those. Bring in our card, and it's just going to lay just along the bottom, so it just kisses the bottom of those little flowers. Actually, if I got that centre, that middle one might need to be moved so it doesn't overlap the actual flower. But yeah, so just lay that along. I'm going to line it up. I'm all skew-whiff here at the moment. Lay that along, as I say, so it just kisses the bottom of those flowers and lays across the top of the one that you've got on dimensionals there. That's your straight. Yep. So there we are. So that sits there. You've got that beautiful glimmer ribbon there. Okay. Last thing to do is bring in your bling, your embellishments. As I say, you should have 3 of the little gold ones per card. So if you've got the double kit or the full kit, you've got 6 of them. But we'll pop those on there as well, just around the place, whatever your favourite configuration is. Okay, so that's card number 2. Very, very pretty. I love that one. So soft. It would make a lovely sort of wedding card or something like that sort of design. You can see it's slightly different to my original. I've worked my way down a bit further on this one, but it's just as nice, I think. Just as pretty, especially with that grid of distressed gold paper there. Okay, so that's card number 2 done. Again, I'll have a wee bit of a clean up and I'll come back with card number 3.